Nice to meet you this morning. Just do a short introduction. My name's John, and I'm a Salvation Army officer based in Cardiff. So that's a minister, a vicar, and but I'll come on to that terminology in a few minutes. I've been a Salvation Army officer for 19 years. My rank is a major, and I live and work in Cardiff, and I'm a chaplain in homeless services in Cardiff. And where I work is Tigabaith, which is a life house, a hostel for homeless men and women. And I've worked there for 7 years now. Before that, I was in Risca in the church, and then I was before that in Stoke-on-Trent, and then as a chaplain, and then before that in Crewe up in Cheshire. So just a little outline of this morning. So just some history of. So part one will be just some history of the Salvation Army, and we'll be on for a long time to share the entire history of the Salvation Army up to present days. But then some of what is happening in the UK at the moment, and then there'll be a short video, and then some questions and answers. Hopefully I'll be able to answer any questions. And then part two, what is happening in Cardiff in homelessness services. And then meet a friend, Rodney, a friend of mine, a couple more short videos, and then again, some questions and answers to maybe what you've heard. So hopefully I'll be able to answer any questions there. So what is the Salvation Army? So first and foremost, we are a Christian church, and we have charitable status as well. And I think the Salvation Army is probably more well known for helping others, and would be seen as a charity first before actually a Christian church. But actually we're first and foremost a Christian church, and because of our love for God, we want to then pass that love on to others. So we're seen as a charity as well. Now that wasn't just somebody's whim to come out just like an idea that they had, but actually it's a biblical narrative that comes from the Bible, and there are many scripture passages and scripture readings that express this need for Christians to practice this practical Christianity. And I just want to just share this verse with you from there, and it's some verses from Matthew. And it says in there, verse 35, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me." So that's just some words there from the New Testament, from Matthew. So the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army was formed in London in 1865 by William Booth. He was a former Methodist minister, and he worked in the East End of London in Victorian times. And William Booth had his first real religious experience with the Wesleyan Methodists in his early teens. He was converted to Christianity in 1844, and he gave his first sermon at the age of 17 in Nottingham, where he was brought up and where he lived in 1846. And by the 1850s, he was working as an evangelist among the poor and the uneducated in Nottingham. Now, Booth was a bit of a maverick, quite a nonconformist, and a bit of a free spirit, and didn't easily fit into the ranks of the existing religious institutions around at that time. And so after falling out with several churches, he decided to strike out alone and launched what was the Christian Mission, which later became the Salvation Army. And that was in 1865. And he started that from a tent in Whitechapel in the east of London, a poor district of Victorian London. And Booth believed that instead of standing at the door of a church building and inviting people to come in, his ethos, his belief was that Christians should go out into the world and meet people where they were, on their terms. And since William Booth saw his movement as engaged in a spiritual battle, and also at that time, the military forces were high on people's agendas and in people's minds. And it seemed logical to him that they should use military metaphors. And then in 1878, the Christian Mission adopted the title of the Salvation Army. So, like I said, the Salvation Army, they use military metaphors, and here on this screen we can see some of those that we have. So, districts or parishes, they were known as corps. They were our churches. They are our churches. Spiritual leaders are known as officers, and they would go from the rank of general, who was right at the top, who was in charge of the worldwide Salvation Army. And there would be ranks of colonel and lieutenant colonel and major, captain, lieutenant, and envoy. And Salvation Army officers and Salvation Army members who wanted to wear, who became soldiers and wanted to wear the uniform. So they'd be like an army dressed in uniform. Our churches, not so much today. There are one or two that still hold on to this name of a citadel, but a citadel is like a fort rather than like a church. And when the Salvation Army would march down the streets, they would march behind a flag. So it was this very much this army and this military metaphor that was quite attractive back then, and in the early part of the 1900s. Despite William Booth's early experiences of working with the poor in Nottingham, the Salvation Army originally was not created to be an instrument of social change like it did through those years and up to today. So apart from a few minor projects, the early Salvation Army concentrated on pure evangelism, on prayer and preaching to win new members, to win converts. But in the middle of the 1880s, we see here just some pictures there of the slums there in London. But in the middle of the 1880s, senior Salvation Army officers realised that poverty was a serious obstacle to their mission. And people found it hard to think about the state of their souls if they were worrying about where their next meal was coming from. And so the army began to set up centres where people could find food and shelter. And this initiative gave them a new access to people living in extreme poverty. And there were many of those in Victorian England. And here on this screen, we see a quote that William Booth was to have said. And I don't know if that's ever been your experience. Maybe you've sat somewhere, maybe on a coffee morning call, and you haven't had your breakfast and you've been too late to get your cup of coffee ready. And you've been cold and shivering and not really taking in what somebody was saying to you. And he said, you cannot warm the hearts of men and women with God's love if they have empty stomachs and cold feet. So I think it's at that time when their feeding projects and things like that started out to reach the people that were struggling at that time. Now, the Salvation Army wasn't well received in every place, and a rival army set up called the Skeleton Army. And here we see a picture of one of the churches in Worthing on the south coast of England, and outside is a riotous group throwing stones, climbing over the walls, attacking some of the members of the Salvation Army that were there. And this Skeleton Army, they were funded by landlords and breweries. A lot as the Salvation Army grew in those early days, many people were turning away from pubs, and so landlords were losing money, and so they would organise these rival groups, and whenever the Salvation Army were out, they would attack them. And so they were not always welcome. And it's recorded that in 1882, over 600 Salvationists were physically assaulted in the UK, including women and children. And the Salvation Army has a weekly paper, a periodical journal. And back then, this was reported in one of the magazines, and it says this: "The storm raged, the wind blew, rain and snow came down. Stones were thrown, a brickbat striking the head of a Sergeant Fellows, breaking his head and causing the loss of a pint of blood. He was taken to the hospital, had his head bandaged, and came back leaping and praising God." And when one time they were in Salisbury and they were being attacked by a large group in one of their open air meetings, and there was a gentleman called Charles Fry, and he had 3 sons, and they went along to act as bodyguards, and they brought their musical instruments to accompany the singing. And so the music that they played at that time turned out to reduce any tension that was there. And also it drowned out any shouts and abuse and any boos that were being said. And in Salisbury on Salt Street, there is a blue plaque commemorating this event. And so right there in that moment, that's when the first Salvation Army brass band was formed. And that was made up of Charles Fry and his 3 sons. So I spoke earlier about social change and the Salvation Army being involved in social change. And back in Victorian days, there were lots and lots of match factories, and they were unsafe, as lots of factories were back then. It's my daughter coming to give me a little bit of something. Thank you very much. And yeah, so the match factories back then, they were unsafe, and lots of people that worked there would develop an illness, a disease called phossy jaw, and that was linked to the phosphorus that was in the lighters. And people would get huge, massive jaws. Their faces would become all disfigured. And the Salvation Army, the leaders there, decided they invented the first safety match, and we still use safety matches today. So they built their own factories and had people come working there in much better working conditions, and they paid higher wages as well. And thankfully, the people that were running the match factories that were unsafe, they closed them down, and then started safer working practice and started making the safety matches. And so the Salvation Army were able to move away from their safety matches factories. I don't know if you heard the song Strawberry Fields by the Beatles in 1966. Well, John Lennon, he wrote this song, and it's a nostalgic reference to a Salvation Army orphanage called Strawberry Fields in Liverpool. And John Lennon is said to have played with childhood friends in the trees behind the orphanage. Apparently he used to climb over the walls and play in those trees when he was a boy. The Salvation Army still own that land there, and just recently they built an educational learning centre, and it is open for visitors, but apparently it's a lovely building to go and look around. So that's what's there now. Up to present time, the Salvation Army is working in over 130 countries. So that's near enough all the countries there in the world that we can see. And at present time, there are 1.6 million members worldwide. and there are over 15,000 churches, over 17,000 full-time ministers, officers like myself. Then we have 1,000 schools and 250 hospitals and clinics worldwide, and they're in some of the more impoverished areas of the world. In the UK, we have over 54,000 members, and like I said, there's over 800 churches, and there are around 1,500 full-time ministers like myself. The Salvation Army is involved in a lot of support for different things and for different areas of what is needed in that locality. And this is a list of some of the things that they help with. Emergency services. We have a fleet, and they are stored at different places around the UK, of emergency service vehicles. And these are units that are equipped with resources which would be needed at a major incident, such as a fire or a flood or a bombing, a chemical incident, or a train or a plane crash. We have employment support, addiction services, skills training, family tracing. So family tracing, when I didn't realise our family tracing unit was as old as what it is, but that goes back so long ago to 1885. And the aim of that is to restore family relationships by locating relatives who, for various reasons, there's maybe been a deliberate break or not. Maybe people have just got lost and over the years, and the family tracing department tried to bring those people back together. We have food banks, youth services, plus a lot of other bespoke services just for that locality and what is needed for that specific need and that specific area.
I will fight
for problem gamblers and their families.
I'll fight to help people so far in debt
they can't see their way out.
I'll fight to protect people who are being exploited, like victims of human trafficking.
I'll fight.
I will fight.
I'll fight.
I'll fight for people who have no voice of their own, like asylum seekers.
For homeless people and people on the margins of society.
Because some people just don't have the opportunities that we're all entitled to.
I'll fight.
I'll fight.
Do you know what?
I'll fight.
I will fight.
I will fight.
I'll fight.
I'll fight.
I'll fight.
I will fight.
I'll fight.
I will fight.
While there remains good dark souls without the light of God, I'll fight. I'll fight to the very end.
Sorry, were you able to hear that at the end then?
We were, yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So like that. So so at the beginning, William Booth was sort of like saying, I'll fight while there's a person going into prison in and out, I'll fight. While there are men and women and children going hungry, I'll fight. And yeah, and then he said, I'll fight to the very end. And so that was just a short, yeah, and then people afterwards were saying, I'll fight, I'll fight. So that's, well, at least I know the sound is working then for the second part of the two films that I want to show. So that's really good. So right, yes, I didn't know if there was any questions that you wanted to ask from anything that you'd heard, or anything that maybe you'd come with a question beforehand that you had ever wondered about the Salvation Army. If not, that's cool too. We can move on. Okay, that's cool. And we'll move on. So, like I said, I work in Cardiff in the Salvation Army's homelessness service, and in Cardiff we have quite a lot of support there for the people that have experiencing homelessness within Cardiff. And there's a list of the services and the support that we have. So Tigabaith Lifehouse Hostel is where I work. That's where I'm found and based. And that is a 74-bed hostel for both men and women from the age of like 21 upwards, and people living there for 2, 3, 4 years and get help with all sorts of support that they are needing in lots of different ways. There'll be a video later on that I'll show that you'll be able to maybe get an idea of some of the things that happen in Tigabais. Crichton House is based in an area of Cardiff called Splot, and that is our outreach, our floating support, and they support about 250, 300 units. So that could be a single person, it could be a couple, it could be a family and community. Quite a lot of their work is helping people to sustain their tenancies. So whether that's help with budgeting, help with their mental health, getting them support in that way. And in Crichton House is based Housing First. We see that there. So Housing First is a relatively new model within the UK of helping people that are really entrenched street homeless, that have been maybe living on the streets for a long time. And so it's getting them into a house or a flat and supporting them really well. There's no need for them to change any lifestyle. You know, there's no expectations upon them to change any of their lifestyle choices, but it's just that to get the roof over their head and get as much intensive support for them as is possible. Northlands Lifehouse there is a young adults lifehouse hostel that we have in Cardiff, and that's for young adults from the age of 16 to 21. And Northlands it has spaces for 26 young adults, and the Salvation Army has a contract in Cardiff that supports 106 young adults around Cardiff in different situations. So I want to show you a short video now, and this is our outreach team that go out every night into the town of Cardiff, and so hopefully you enjoy and you can hear this video now.
You don't have to lock it because Matt's still here.
My name's Stella, and I am an assertive outreach support worker with the Salvation Army.
Stella is part of a team of 4 outreach workers supporting people who are street homeless in Cardiff.
We're not just out there for well-being and, you know, just see how you're doing. We have an assertive approach to their homelessness.
That means actively supporting people to get off the streets. Tonight, Stella is joined by Natasha, who manages the team.
We're helping anybody really in need who is rough sleeping, who's vulnerably housed around the city. Quite often people will have complex traumas, either from their time of being out on the streets or from childhood traumas they faced earlier in their life.
We'll go around the back of Debenhams now and then head back onto Queen Street.
Living on the streets is a risky business. People are significantly more exposed to violence and assault. The effects on people's health and well-being can be catastrophic, and their life expectancy plummets.
Hello. You okay, lovely? It's Stella from Outreach. Do you want a hot drink, lovely? Yeah, tea or coffee?
We're helping people out of very, very difficult, dangerous situations sometimes, helping people to find a place of safety, of comfort, being able to live their lives and have some quality of life.
Can you do a coffee for Aaron as well, please? Why don't you let them give you a lift tomorrow? Would you let them do that?
We have a route that we do nightly. That's so if they need to find us, they know they can be in those certain spots.
Are you going to be pitched up here tonight? Okay, so I'll let morning outreach know.
Sometimes they haven't spoken to somebody all day, so it'll just be giving them that time for them to have a chat, for us to listen.
Okay.
If they need anything, then we can support them with that. But usually that will just be a cup of tea or a chat, or one night they might say, I've had enough, I'm ready.
I think you're going to have to try and get in your chair and we're going to take you back over to Tres.
We can take them over to the emergency accommodation. That will start their journey then into more secure temporary accommodation.
We can encourage her to come in.
Hello, Stella speaking. Hi, Peter, you okay?
Those little wins you really get to appreciate.
That's it. And over time, you do see the bigger wins as well. You see people who go from the street into hostels, who are given their own flat, who are given support, floating support in their own property, and then with an eventual goal to kind of live independently in the community.
In the meantime, the team works hard on building relationships with the people they meet.
To see somebody sad, despondent, despairing, and just to see that transformation, it's just so rewarding.
You know what they say about cold hands, Nate?
Warm heart. Warm heart, darling.
We're not miracle workers, but there is something we can do, and things can improve if you want them to. It's a privilege, really, to be able to do a job where literally all you do is help people. I just love it. I love coming to work every day.
So that's just a little insight into the work that the Salvation Army does in Cardiff on the streets every night. I don't know if you have been wondering or have been in your town, your city where you live, and have been walking around and see people that are street homeless, and have ever maybe wondered how somebody gets into that position, is homeless. And well, it's just something, a little exercise that I just want to show you, but actually this is true to life, even though it's like an exercise we did this morning. But here, I said I was going to introduce you to my friend Rodney. Well, this is Rodney when he was 12 years old, and this morning, well, Rodney couldn't be here in person, but this is Rodney when he was 12 years old, and he was likeable, lovable and capable, and that's how he felt this morning when he woke up to get ready for school. And as he woke up feeling very lovable and likeable and capable that morning, he went to the bathroom, and as he got to the bathroom, his sister pushed him out of the way, and he says, "Get out of the way, you. I'm using the bathroom first. You stand there and wait your turn." So he felt that his sister didn't really like him or love him. His sister came out of the bathroom, and he went in to do what he needed to do, and needed to use the toilet, and then he brushed his teeth. And his sister had left her hair gel on the side, and so he thought that he would put some into his hair, and he put it in, and he looked in the mirror, and he thought, "Oh, I look really nice. I look really good." He was really pleased with himself. So he went into his bedroom, and he was looking for his school uniform. And so he shouted down to his mum, "Mum, where's my school uniform? Do you know where it is?" So he says, "Who do you think I am? I'm not your slave. Get your dirty uniform out of the wash basket that you wore earlier in the week." So he felt that his mum didn't really have much time for him and didn't love him that much. He got dressed and he went downstairs. And as soon as his mum saw him, he says, "What's that muck in your hair? Get that out of your hair. You look stupid." So again, he didn't feel very capable. Went back upstairs, got rid of that. Came downstairs, and his dad had already put his milk on his cornflakes, and so they were soggy. And he looked at his dad with that hope of, "Dad, can I have a new bowl of cornflakes?" And his dad said, "Eat those cornflakes now." So again, he didn't really feel like his dad had much time for him. It was time to go to school, and as he left the school, and as he was walking down the street, his mum shouted out of the bedroom window, "Rodney, you forgot your PE bag. You're hopeless, you are. You're always forgetting something. You're absolutely hopeless." And as he turned back, there were some girls walking towards him, and they started laughing at him. So again, he didn't feel very likeable or capable. as he got to the bus stop, because he had to go back home, he was running a few minutes late and the bus was leaving without him. His friends were on the bus and he expected them to shout for the bus driver to stop, but they didn't, and they just made all sorts of gestures to him out of the bus window, and he was late to school. So again, he felt that his friends didn't really care that much for him. Because he got the later bus to school, he was late to school, and so the teacher on the gate saw that he was late for school. Rodney, you're late. Detention, lunchtime. Again, he didn't feel very capable and he didn't feel very lovable. Well, apart from detention, school went okay, and he got home, and as he got home that evening, he was the first in the house, and he went to get his remote control to watch his favourite TV programme. And as he reached for his programme, his sister came running in, snatched it out of his hand and told him to go upstairs to his bedroom. Get out of my sight. I don't want to see you. It was time for his homework, and he asked his dad if he could help him with some of his maths homework. And his dad said, "Who do you think I am? I'm not your teacher. You've got to do it on your own, Rodney. I can't help you." And he didn't feel that his dad really liked him or loved him that much. Well, he did his homework, and then later in the evening, he remembered that his friends had given him a phone number of a girl that he liked, and they'd said to him, "If it is that you ring this girl this evening, you'll have a date for the weekend, Rodney." So he nervously picked up the phone and he dialed in the number he'd been given, and the girl's voice answered the phone, the girl that he liked, and he said, "Hi there, it's Rodney." And she said, "Rodney who?" Now, Rodney woke up that morning feeling lovable, likeable, capable, and that's not how he went to bed that night with those things that happened to him. Now, nothing really serious happened to him. Nobody died or anything like that. But imagine if that happened every day for a week, and every week for a month, and then every month for a year, and Rodney's at the age of 12. Where do you think he would be when he was, say, 18? And so within our homelessness services, the vast majority of people that we come across that are coming to us for support in lots and lots of different ways have what is called ACEs. Childhood experiences. So as a staff team, we need to be aware of this, and we need to work in a trauma-informed way and also a psychologically informed way, and try and understand why people react and act to different situations in the way that they do. I just want to share a video with you of Tigabyth, where I work. Now, this film was made last year, around this time last year. So it lasts for a couple of minutes, and hopefully this gives you a little insight into Tigabyth. If ever you're in Cardiff and you're walking past, you'll know where it is, and it just gives you a little insight into some of the day-to-day things that happen in Tigabyth.
Morning, Tisa. What you okay? Yeah, good, thank you.
My name is John Stark, and I'm the chaplain here at Tigabyth in Cardiff, just a stone's throw really from the main city centre.
You all right, Ange? Yeah, how are you today? Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Tigabyth is a life house supporting men and women who are experiencing homelessness.
Morning, Nige.
Morning, guys.
Morning, you okay?
Morning.
Take a seat.
Yeah, my boy. Yes, thank you.
Every day, there are loads of programmes going on which are helping residents on their journey. And this morning, Nigel and Darren are working with Beth, who runs daily sessions for people who've been through detox.
So So on the treatment programme, the guys are required to do 3 breathalyzers per day. And their first one is in the morning, in morning session. Where you go.
These groups can help residents become more resilient in their recovery.
And then we're going to head into session, which is all about high-risk situations today. Is that cool? Ash.
As well as talking therapy, we run art and writing workshops. And it's really made a difference to Darren.
How do you feel you're getting on?
Yeah, it's coming together.
Yeah.
It's coming together.
Every week I can come down here a couple of hours, you know, get out of my room and, yeah, and just get lost in this.
Many residents here need support with their mental health, and we have a dedicated team working intensively with the most vulnerable.
Are you borrowing it today?
Yeah.
Jeff gets support every day, and it's made a huge difference.
The support workers helped me with my medication. My life has turned right around compared to where I was just on the streets with no hope at all. Now I got a bit of hope and it's good.
Here we are, Kieran. Coffee, 2 sugars.
So essentially, I'm here as a chaplain to give pastoral help and support and spiritual guidance. How have you been today?
Not too bad, yourself?
All right, yeah,
Okay.
good, thanks. People have suffered trauma within their life and are wanting to share that and speak with me about that. Last card. And people have asked me to pray for them and their family and the situation that they're going through, and trust me with that story that they have to tell. I love being here at Teagabythe, and I love meeting people just to say hello, how are you? What are you up to today? Introduce myself. My name's John. Yeah, all right, Robert. Okay, good to see you today. Journey with them and navigate their lives while they're living here to try and help and support the best that I can.
Yeah, good, thanks, yeah.
I support people of faith and people of no faith. Being a chaplain here at Teagabythe is such an amazing privilege. It just gives that different level and a deeper support to the amazing support that's already been given.
Dad, you have to sleep. It's okay. I will sneak away.
So that's me for this morning. So I don't know if there's any questions, and hopefully I'll be able to maybe answer any questions. I don't know if there's anything that you'd like to know or anything that's brought up within you.
Just sneak away.
Just to say, from chatting with people who are on the streets, sometimes just to say hello, how are you today, is all that's needed. Quite a lot of people just walk past people on the street, so it's just a matter of just say hello, how are you, and that's all that's needed, is just somebody to talk to, just to say hello that day. So thank you very much for my invite, and sorry it was running late this morning. I got mixed up with Zoom and Teams. So thank you ever so much for everything that you've added to the chat group this morning.